manipulation. He also said, irrespective of what some people say, his administration made giant strides in stabilizing the security situation in the country, reviving and diversifying the economy, and fighting corruption.
I'm just very grateful that Nigerians have begun to understand I have been quite successful in my duty.
From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
In another development, President Muhammadu Buhari has directed the conferment of excellent service as well as the National Honors Awards of Office of the Order of the Federal Republic on the Executive Vice Chairman of NASENI, Professor Mohammed Sani Haruna. This is in appreciation of his exemplary leadership and tireless efforts at making NASENI one of the important legacies his administration is bequeathing for sustainable future of the country. The President gave the directive while inaugurating the Technology and Innovation Complex named after him at the headquarters of the agency. Again, State House Adamu Sambo has more.
It was a joyous moment of remarkable significance at the headquarters of NASENI as President Muhammadu Buhari came calling the first
to be at par with other similar agencies of government across the world and optimal performance. We are convinced that the future maintenance and sustainability of our key national infrastructure are assured. New NASENI is undoubtedly among the most important legacy of our administration. It's bequeathing to next government in 2023.
Apart from inventing useful and historic intelligence and defense-related equipment and devices, NASENI is currently implementing, amongst others, smart irrigation projects for multi-crop season farming, the National Tractor Recovery and Rehabilitation Project, the assembly of 2 helicopters towards first made in Nigeria helicopter, and the development of solar cells for 100% solar module production, thereby contributing to Nigerian transition to a manufacturing economy.
Let me emphasize that NASENI, under my watch as chairman, has done well. We are sure that these advanced science and engineering core facilities will assist our nation in the attainment of African Union's Agenda 2063 and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2030.
Mr. President, this has shown that you are very interested on how we can move our country from being a consumption country to a production country. And I pray that the foundation that has been laid will go a long way in shaping the economy of this great nation.
The Executive Vice Chairman of NASENI, Professor Mohammed Sani Haruna, sincerely appreciated President Muhammadu Buhari for his courage and political will in approving all that NASENI asked for, saying the agency is not only indebted to him and Nigeria, but resolutely committed to exceeding all expectations by contributing towards overcoming Nigeria's development challenges for sustainable future.
Your Excellency, NASENI is ready and God willing, we will soon provide innovative technology solutions for stopping crude oil theft and bunkering, vandalization of power line and pipelines, as well as surveillance and monitoring devices for our rails, roads, and seaways.
President Buhari later undertook a guided tour of exhibition stand.
We become net exporters some of our produce.
Nigeria and Vietnam to collaborate on agriculture towards meeting global food targets. Thank you for staying with us. President Muhammadu Buhari on Wednesday in Guinea-Bissau will be decorated with the country's highest honor in recognition of his contributions to the political stability of the West African nation. President Buhari will honor the invitation by President of Guinea-Bissau, Umaru Sissoco Embalo, for the special ceremony that will be held at the presidential villa, which was which will include commissioning of a road named after him, Avenue President Muhammadu Buhari, at the capital city. The one-day celebration will highlight the leadership role of President Buhari in the West Coast, particularly in Guinea-Bissau. During the visit to Bissau, President Buhari and the Nigerian delegation will participate in a bilateral meeting. The application of technology and innovation in the agricultural sector remains one of the answers to the concern over how Africa will feed its growing population, which now stands at 1 billion people. This is the view of Vice President Yemi Osinbajo when he visited the Vietnam Academy of Agricultural Sciences in Hanoi, Vietnam, and he stresses the importance of collaboration between the two countries towards meeting global food targets. State House correspondent Gideon Ifade reports.
Many low-hanging fruits, one can say, that are up for grabs in this visit of the Vice President to Vietnam. One of these is the opportunity for cooperation in agricultural science and technology between Nigeria and Vietnam. The visit to this Vietnam Academy of Agricultural Sciences by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo is observed as a commitment by the federal government to the scientific research and technology application for agricultural development.
We are far from meeting our targets for the number of people that we have, and also to become net exporters of some of our produce. I think Vietnam has demonstrated that a developing economy can still be one of the major exporters of agricultural products. And I think you have done that excellently. So, everything is fine. Nigeria is fine.
Chúc quan hệ hợp tác năm tới đây. And good thing I'm looking forward to the cooperation with agriculture between two countries in future should be more developed.
Another is the visit to the Financing and Promoting Technology University, known for its high capacity in software development. The two found a melting point in which to collaborate, with Nigeria eager to develop its science and technology, meeting an investor willing to expand its services to African countries.
Big country like Nigeria can make something similarly happen.
So I certainly look forward to that possibility, and you can be sure that the government of Nigeria will be very happy to work with you to ensure that that happens, and to give you all of the various benefits and the various incentives that make doing business in our part of the world very special and very attractive.
The Vice President also had discussions with the Vietnamese Prime Minister on areas of mutual interest and on how to further strengthen the bilateral relation which started way back in 1976. The Vice President was later treated to a state banquet with many high-ranking officials and businessmen and women in attendance.
And we look forward in the next months and years for even greater cooperation and greater high-level visits between our countries.
In Hanoi, Vietnam, Jude Onifade, NTA News.
In the meantime, the People's Republic of China has officially handed over the Agricultural Demonstration Center situated along Buhari Road in Abuja to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Abdulsalam Jubril reports that the state-of-the-art facility aims to boost agricultural productivity and ensure food security across the country.
All over the world, the use of technological advancement to boost agricultural productivity has become the norm. This facility, built under the China Aid Scheme, aims to do just that. A symbol of Nigeria-China cooperation, the facility aims to modernize the agricultural sector, standardize local content for export, and enhance research capacity.
Today's program here is about technology, it's about investment, it's about high yield seed. is about the mechanization, is about technology. So Chinese government support Nigeria to develop or modernize the agriculture.
This project is coming at a time where the present administration is working to improve Nigeria's capacity on agriculture to meet with international standards. The skills acquired at the center would also
world-class. It includes agricultural technology training and research centers, processing and exhibition center, irrigation facility.
Built in just over 12 months, it is expected that the facility will be a game changer towards enhancing the production levels of the agricultural sector. In Abuja, Abdul Salam Jubril, NTA News.
The federal government is requesting the United Nations and other international bodies to save developing countries like Nigeria from the clutches of rating agencies. Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning Zainab Ahmed made the appeal when the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, visited her in Abuja. Leah Katung Babatunde reports.
Nigeria, like many developing countries, has received downgrades and negative ratings from international rating agencies since the coming of COVID-19, whose impact is still reverberating. The World Bank, in its latest report, said debt service payments put the biggest squeeze on poor countries since 2000, with International Development Association countries' debt service payments projected to top $62 billion in 2022. Finance, Budget and National Planning Minister Zainab Ahmed laments rating agencies were not considering the circumstances Nigeria and similar countries were operating in and have denied Nigeria the opportunity of accessing cheap loans from international creditors. She expresses that the ministry is engaging credit rating agencies and providing everything they ask for, but it seems as if it is not enough.
They themselves just need to do things differently. You cannot be making the same kind of assessments you were making when things were normal. Things are different. Things are not normal anymore. So we've seen some of our sister countries really hurt, like Ghana, because of the assessment of a credit rating agency. This year alone, we have had Nigeria being downgraded 1 notch. And unless these interventions are done at a very high international level, our countries that are developing will be the ones that will carry the brunt.
The coming year will see Nigeria go to the polls as well as embark on census, and Nigeria is seeking support of the United Nations to make it work. In her brief remark, Mrs. Amina Mohammed cautioned the federal government on the planned review of fuel subsidy.
This is hugely important to the economy. However, it is one that has to be handled with care, and targeting effectively what one removes is important for people to understand that those perceived gains from subsidies are actually going to translate into their lives and work towards reducing poverty.
Revenue has been a nagging concern for the federal government, with this administration going in and out of recession twice and grappling with global and local economic troubles, hence the cry for help. In Abuja, Leah Katung Babatunde, NTA News.
Nigeria is keying into the United Nations Agricultural Development Program tagged Hand in Hand Initiative. Musa Baba Ali reports that in line with this, an interministerial committee made up of representatives of the Ministries of Agriculture, Water Resources, Environment, and Humanitarian and Social Development has been inaugurated.
Hand in Hand Initiative is a strategy created by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, to eradicate hunger and poverty by accelerating agricultural transformation and sustainable development. This is the FAO country representative briefing the members of the Interministerial Committee on the implementation of the program in Nigeria.
In other words, that we have two tracks, one that would look at the developmental or economic aspects, in which case interventions and investments and policies that support value chain development, that would support agro-processing in particular regions where there is high potential for those. And then the second track would look at the humanitarian, social development issues that are key in different contexts.
The four key ministries believe that Nigeria is accepting the program with a view to supporting agricultural transformation.
The NSC will provide overall political leadership, strategic direction, and guidance for the implementation of an initiative in Nigeria in line with the national priorities.
My ministry's desire and commitment to continue to provide a conducive atmosphere for the hand-in-hand initiative, and will be fully committed to this membership of the National Steering Committee on the implementation of the hand-in-hand initiative in Nigeria.
We must find a way to expand more land for irrigation without investing too much capital. And that's why using groundwater and taking along with micro irrigation is something that we must do.
We give you assurances and to Mr. President that we're in sync with this initiative and hope that we achieve results as quickly as possible.
To this end, government at both the national and state level will work with the UN agency for the successful implementation of the program in Nigeria. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Time for another break. Stay with us.
You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet, and phone. Log on to visiontv.co.uk and click on Entertainment, then NTAI. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile devices to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International, your window to the world.
Approaching this site of utmost beauty, occasioned by chains of rocks of varying sizes, points to the fact that the journey leads to a town with rich historical landmarks and sites of tourism significance. It's a journey to Das, the headquarters of Das local government area, Bauchi State, northeastern Nigeria. Das covers an area of about 535 kilometers square and consists of 11 districts, which are Bununu, Wandi, Bundot, Polchi, Lukshi, Baraza, Dot, Bajel, Dur, and Zumbul. The town is characterized by two distinct climate conditions, which are dry and wet seasons, as it is located within the Guinea savanna type of climate. Geologically, Das is located on the basement complex rocks of North Central Highland. Thus, it is surrounded by rocks of different sizes, which gives the location its aesthetic design, hence pleasing to sight. The choice of this location to settle by ancient inhabitants was indeed not detached from the antecedents of their term.
Historically, in the northern settlements, the ancient towns had traditionally built walls to protect themselves against the invaders during the jihad period. Then our ancestors, due to their wisdom, being warriors, they now found it more advantageous. One, time will not permit them to build that wall because they were migrated from the ancient Borno Empire. Ngazargamu settled in many places, including Lapi and Baribari, the present headquarters of Nasarawa State. Then in Bununu, the present headquarters of Tafabule local government, they moved down here under the leadership of Mumini, who was the leader of the entourage of the 1841. Therefore, the surrounding that you see, you now see, okay, let us settle here so that our enemies will not have direct access to conquer and defeat us. It's a military strategy, which even now, if you look at it critically, you will believe with me that yes, our ancestors were truly warriors. They have that vision, the wisdom. That's the reason. And their ideas served them up till our generations.
Of all the rocks that surround Das town, Dutsimbula is the highest. It has a height of 4,100 meters above sea level. Therefore, it can be seen from several kilometers away when one approaches Das from all directions.
Dutsimbula is a very prominent feature that as soon as you are coming out from Bauchi on a clear day, leaving Bauchi from about 10 kilometers, you can be able to sight Dutsimbula. And if you are coming from Jos area, you can see Dutsimbula the moment you get to around Toro. You will see Dutsimbula.
Mbula Rock has features of towering peaks and rocky boulders covered with trees, hence making it look like a forest dotted with rocks owing to the fairly thick vegetation. At the foot of the mountain, where the ancient inhabitants of Das settled before moving to the present location, there still exists the structure of the colonial treasury building, which was built in 1923 by the colonial masters. It served as the Bauchi Das Province Native Authority Liaison Office, as well as the treasury where revenue and levies after collection are gathered for onward delivery to the authorities. Close to it is a mosque with historical importance to the people of Das. It was built in 1841 by the early Muslim settlers. Although the mosque has undergone renovations over time in order to repair structural defects, its traditional architectural design, typical of ancient northern Nigeria, is still maintained. Mbula Rock is a massive rock with an unimaginable beauty as well as tourist potential. Viewing the entire area of Das town from the top of the rock reveals the architectural beauty of the ancient town. Tourists will have a lot to remember once they experience what these historic and beautiful rocks offer. Gushing from the top of the mountain is a beautiful waterfall named Paandi by the inhabitants. The waterfall serves as one of the major sources of water for the ancient inhabitants. Even today, the waterfall remains readily available for use by those who climb the beautiful rock, either for sightseeing or for other purposes. Watching the waterfall from the top of the hill is a beautiful sight to behold. The cool air which blows from the top of the mountain, especially around the waterfalls area, is indeed enjoyable. From and towards any direction you move on the Mbula Rock, you will certainly marvel at what nature has done to the historic rock in terms of beauty. Beyond that, the purpose it served in ancient times is what makes it a historic rock with utmost significance to the people. So, this aspect cannot be swept under the carpet.
Mbula is a unique mountain in this community. One of the highest mountain actually in the community. And its uniqueness dated back to the period of forefathers. It's a very unique site for us because it has caves there, the highest mountain during war periods in the 18th century. People used to place their own guards on top of the hill who will watch from as far as more than 30 to 40 kilometers. watch for enemies coming into dust so that they will send the alert, alarm those on the ground, the direction of enemies, and even to a certain extent inform them about the distance so that the ground troops will prepare and go and counter the troops that are coming to attack our community. So it's a very unique hill. In the olden days, this protective area or defensive area. You know, in those days, there were no missiles to be thrown to capture, you know, an area or people. During slave trade, when kingdoms were fighting kingdom, chiefdoms were fighting chiefdom. So whenever an attack is coming to us, people will run to the hills. And then we have our missiles, our local missiles, which are arrows that we shoot at enemies that come towards us. And that gave protection to the people of Das to the extent that Das was never captured historically by the people of Bauchi. Whenever they, you know, besieged us, they can come and surround the area, but they cannot climb the hills because their horses cannot climb hills. So we use that as a defensive mechanism.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience fast internet access today. Visit intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel. Live more.
Apart from the security, which the cave provided for the weak and vulnerable during wars in ancient times, life was indeed enjoyable when the ancient inhabitants lived at the top of the Mbula rock.
It has all that it takes there for a human life to survive on that hill. Though it takes like 6 hours for you to climb from the bottom of the hill to the top of it. But if you can make it to the top, you will see very, very historic things. You will see ancient settlements. You will see the caves there. You will see the reservoir for water, which will contain water there for a year, complete year, for those on the top of the hill. And you will see the huts of our ancient fathers living on that hill.
These all-important purposes which the rock served in the ancient times account for the continuous romance between the rock and the people of Das.
The Bula Hill now today is a center of unity. Is even the logo.
The rock is really
non-Nigerian. The government of Bauchi State can give some attention to this very fertile land of income generation through tourism by bringing developmental plans around the source of Bula Hills. There are many to be able to access these highlands by opening up either footpaths or even putting some form of lift to open up the space where people can climb up and see and enjoy the foot of the mountain. It will bring a lot of interest to the Emirates, and many people within and outside Nigeria would want to come and pay a visit to this magnificent beauty.
Of another rock referred to as Jakiri Rock, which stands north of Mbula Rock. The name Jakiri was derived from historic incidents which occurred in the 18th century during the period of the quest for expansion of territories by emirates and kingdoms.
The people of Bauchi were told that if they can break that hill, that they will be able to conquer that.
In this regard, troops from Bauchi moved to conquer Das town without success on account of the Jakiri incident. Skins of several cows were made to serve as ropes to be used in pulling down the rock. These cow-skinned ropes were put round the rock, after which the warriors from Bauchi pulled the rope in order to bring down Jakiri Rock. To their surprise, the rope would get cut, and each time it got cut, a large number of soldiers died. This continued until the warriors decided to return to Bauchi without a clash with the Das warriors due to the loss of soldiers they encountered. Another myth surrounding the significance of the rock is that the ancient inhabitants of villages around Jakiri Rock got special species of chickens from the foot of the rock, thus a source of wealth to the people as well. Apart from the Jakiri Rock having the history of defense of the people of Das, the shape is in itself a wonder of nature. Of the 10-year battle between Das and Bauchi troops at that time is a point which served as war camp for Bauchi warriors. It is referred to as Das Katanga, which means Das defensive wall in English language. It is today located at Bajar district of Das Emirate, at the boundary between Das and Toro local government area, which is under Bauchi Emirates today. The Bauchi warriors used the camp to launch the unsuccessful attacks on Das until 1870, which saw the end of the attacks and the quest to conquer Das by the Bauchi Emirates. It was from this point that the Bauchi warriors moved to Jakiri Rock, and the Jakiri incident earlier talked about occurred. Indeed, Mbula Rock is not just a rock, but one with enormous value which the people wish could be brought to the fore. The history of Das is certainly incomplete without the mention of Mbula Rock and the account of the role it played in the safety of the people in the ancient times during wars for expansion of territories by providing shelter for the weak and vulnerable in caves, while at the same time providing a ready position for Das warriors to take cover and for attacks against approaching adversaries, which helped them to remain undefeated in any war. Tourism-wise, Dutsembula, as it is called by the people of Das, will provide a huge revenue base for the government and the people if its potentials are fully tapped, considering its beauty and other characteristics, especially in today's world, where diversification of the economy and sources of revenue is the way to go in order to achieve a stable and sustainable revenue base. So, why not visit the famous rock with enormous beauty today and have experience you will never forget?
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during, and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message from the National Orientation Agency.
What is happening? Your eyes are red. You are armed with a machete and a gun.
See, I am angry and I can't even contain it. See.
My guy, calm down, calm down.
See, Oga. I have planned to go and destroy these people's businesses in the city. I have to retaliate for what they've done at their own place. They cannot eat their cake and have it now, never.
If you destroy their business here, and they destroy that of those close to you over there, especially that your brother who sends you steady cash, how would you survive? Would your dreams be on hold?
See, what you're saying is correct. But I'm still angry.
Best way is to embrace peace. With peace and unity,
my people, let us embrace peace and unity. Let's learn to live as brothers and sisters for a progressive, prosperous nation. This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet, and phone. Log on to visiontv.co.uk and click on Entertainment, then NTAI. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile devices to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International, your window to the world.
Muhammadu Buhari has left Abuja for Guinea-Bissau on a day official visit. He was seen off at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport by his Chief of Staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, FCT Minister Mohammed Musa Bello, Inspector General of Police Usman Alkali Baba, Director General, Department of State Services Yusuf Magaji Bichi, and other top government officials. While in Bissau, the president is expected to be decorated with the country's highest honor in recognition of his contribution to the political stability of the West African nation. President Buhari will also inaugurate a major road in the country's capital city named after him and hold bilateral talks with President Umaru Sissoco Embalo on issues of mutual interest. The visit will highlight President Buhari's leadership role in the West Coast, particularly in Guinea-Bissau, regularly counseling and motivating leaders on virtues of peace, political inclusiveness, integrity, and stimulating a strong economy that drives collective prosperity. Various groups in Nigeria are demonstrating commitment to adding value to the nation's democratic development. Stanley Ugwanara reports that in view of this development, Youth Empowerment Solutions, a non-governmental organization, has launched a campaign known as Value Your Vote, Naija. The group promised to offer logistic support to encourage prospective voters collect their permanent voter cards and actively participate in the electoral process.
Intervention will also be voter mobilization, which would now be for the actual election itself. So from now till February next year, we're going to be engaging with young people, going to communities, going to the streets and talking with young people and getting them ready, sensitizing them on the need for them to value their vote and ensure that they vote in the forthcoming election. We intend to set up what we call a youth situation room. And the purpose of this is to monitor the end goal of getting young people of some of the exercise we've done. So we intend that in the process of engaging with young people between now and before the election day.
And we'll see you soon.
Warm greetings from the house of Mima. Thank you so much for joining us for your favorite show, Lifelines with Mima. Today, we're going to be treating the issue of living a double life. Of course, you know, on social media, on TV, radio, you name it, people are claiming to be who they are not. People are taking themselves to heights that they cannot attain. This particular issue. You don't want to go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching Lifelines with Mima. Let's meet our clients for the day. With me now, I have Mr. Kingsley and his lovely wife, Mrs. Joyce. You're both very welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. What seems to be the problem here? What's the matter?
Madam, my wife here wants to do something that is unheard of. Something that is unheard of in every marriage.
Really? Okay. Well, what could this be?
She had an appointment with the doctor.
Okay.
And the appointment was not for antenatal, like every sane woman would do.
Okay.
But the appointment she had with the doctor was in order for her to have an abortion. She wants to abort my child.
Oh, really? Why is that? Didn't you marry her legally?
I did.
Okay.
I did everything that is expected.
Okay.
I did the court wedding. I did the traditional wedding. I did the white wedding.
I see.
In fact, the occasion was covered. I paid the dowry and even get them extra.
I see.
Between God and man, she is my wife.
Okay. Madam, let me ask you. Is it possible that this pregnancy may be affecting your health? Is that why you want to terminate it?
No.
What then is the problem?
He knows the reason. I don't even know why he's pretending as if he don't know why I want to let go of the baby.
Okay.
I never planned to be a single mother, not especially someone as broke as he is. He said I can no longer be his wife. Then I cannot be a mother to his children.
So this is a divorce issue now?
From this point, I really don't care. Whatever she wants to do with herself, whether she wants to leave or stay, is totally her business. I don't care if she go to blazes. What I want is for the baby in her womb not to be touched.
Okay.
I don't want that innocent and poor child to be touched by this woman. She must not touch that child.
Not touch the child. Oh yeah, come and carry the baby now. Come and carry the baby and put it in your own womb. Did you have womb? Because as I am like this, God knows that this body won't carry that child. See this my body, it won't carry the child. Okay, madam. I see. Why? You haven't really told me what the issue is, why you want to do this.
Mema, can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
If you discover that the man you married to is not whom he claimed to be, will you still stick to the marriage?
Is he not who he's claiming to be?
Oh, so because I am not who you perceive me to be, I am no longer the Kingsley that you married, right?
Yes. Yes. And don't even dare give me that look. Why are you looking at me like that? From the onset I met you, it's full of lies. Your life has been full of fake, life fake. Yeah? Okay, fine. This is our whole relationship that we are into. It's been based on deception.
This is the network service of the NTA. We now join our outside broadcast crew for a live telecast. Please stay tuned.
Abdullahi, Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, Mrs. Lydia Shehu Jafia, MNI. Director overseeing the Office of the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Environment, Mr. Charles Ikea. Senior Special Assistant to Mr. President on Climate Change and Environment, Engineer Hassan Musa. SS to Mr. President, attached to the Office of the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture. Director Generals, Chief Executives, and Heads of Agencies and Parastatals under the Ministry of Environment, Information, and Culture here present. Directors of the two ministries present, editors, bureau chiefs, other ladies and gentlemen of the media, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I want to formally welcome you all to the 8th edition of the PMB Administration Scorecard 2015 to 2023. This platform, for those who have been following, provides an opportunity for the ministers of the Federal Republic to share their success stories in terms of performance, progress reports, and achievements in their various sectors under the present administration. This platform also gives the media the opportunity to ask pertinent questions and get clarifications on matters and issues of public interest. I want to welcome you all and thank you for finding time to be with us today. This series for information is beamed live by the Nigerian Television Authority, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, and the Voice of Nigeria. It is also streamed live on all FMIC Facebook social media platforms. The series to date has featured 7 ministers from 7 ministries. Today, we are featuring the Honorable Minister of Environment, Barrister Mohammed Hassan Abdullahi. I welcome you, sir. Honorable Minister, with your kind permission, I will just quickly recognize some of our DGs because I could see the Federal Ministry of Environment is fully prepared because they came with almost 6 of their heads of agencies. Let me quickly recognize them. We have with us the DG and Chief Executive Officer, National Biosafety Management Agency, Dr. Rufus Ebegba. Also with us, we have the DG Nosdra, Mr. Musa Idris. I welcome you. We have the DG National Agency for Great Green Wall, Dr. Buka Yusuf Maina. Also with us, we have the DG Forestry Research Institute of Nigeria, Professor Adepoju Adeshola. You're welcome. We have with us DG Nestra, Professor Aliu Jero. You're welcome. The Conservator General, National Park Services, Dr. Ibrahim Musa Goni is here too. Thank you for coming. The Registrar, Environmental Health Council of Nigeria, Sanitarian Dr. Mohammed Baba Yakubu is here too. Thank you for coming. From the Ministry of Information and Culture, we have the Director General, National Gallery of Art with us, Mr. Ebitin Williams Ivara. I welcome you. The Executive Secretary, Nigerian Press Council, Mr. Francis Nwosu is here too. Thank you for welcome. DG Nahoto, Malam Nura Soni Kangiwa is here too. Thank you so much. The Artistic Director, National Troupe of Nigeria, Ahmed Mohamed Hamed. Thank you for coming. The DG Voice of Nigeria, Mr. Osita Okechukwu, you're welcome. We have the DG National Council of Museums and Monuments, Professor Abba Issa Tijani. I welcome you, sir. DG Naiko is here, Ado Yahuza. Also with us, we have the DG MBC, Malam Balaraba Shehu Ilela. We have with us also, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the National Project Coordinator, IPREP, Dr. Gideon Ferdinand. I welcome you. Thank you so much for coming. At this point, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me quickly run through this program. The Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, who is also the Chief Moderator and the Coordinator of this engagement, will give an opening remarks, after which the Honorable Minister of Environment will make his presentation. After that, we will now go into a very important segment, which of course is the question and answer section. Please, when we get to that question and answer section, to the gentlemen of the media, when you are recognized to speak, you tell us your name, the media organization you are representing, and please restrict your questions to the issues to be addressed by the Honorable Minister of Environment in his presentation. Please let us be decent enough in our use of language. And finally, please let us avoid all these side talks which can bring distraction to the flow of communication. We appreciate that. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your readiness to cooperate with us. At this point, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, to please give his opening remarks. Honorable Minister, sir.
The Honorable Minister of Environment and my brother, Barrister Muhammad Hassan Abdullahi, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Information and Culture, Mrs. Lydia Shehu Jafia, MNI, the Acting Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Mr. Charles Ikea, the Special Assistant, the former Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Environment, and now SSA to the President on Environment and Climate Change, who is here with us also. The Special Assistants to the President, Media 1 and 2, Mr. Shegun Adeyemi and Mr. Williams Adeleye. The Directors General and Chief Executive Officers of agencies and directors of the two ministries present, editors and bureau chiefs, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I want to assure you that by the next time we have this scorecard for the Ministry of Environment, we shall retaliate, because today there are more professors and doctors from your side. I came with only 4 of mine. But I can assure you by the next time we're here, there'll be more professors here too. very warmly welcome you all to this 8th edition of the PNB Administration Scorecard Series 2015-2023. On Monday, we hosted the Honorable Minister of Water Resources. Today, it is the turn of the Honorable Minister of Environment. And before then, we had presentations from the Honorable Ministers of Works and Housing, Transportation, Aviation, Interior, Agriculture and Rural Development, Finance, Budget and National Planning. On Thursday, December 8th, that is tomorrow, we will also be hosting the Honorable Minister of Mines and Steel Development. As a quick reminder of why we are here, recall that we launched this series in October and documenting the numerous achievements of the Buhari administration. Before I invite the Honorable Minister of Environment to the podium, please permit me to digress a bit and to say categorically and without any fear of contradiction that the administration's fight against corruption is very much on track. As you may already know, Mr. President signed into law the Proceeds of Crime, Recovery and Management Bill 2022 on the 12th of May 2022. That bill was one of the three which Mr. President signed into law that day. The other two are the Money Laundering, Prevention and Prohibition Bill 2022 and the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Bill 2022. I have an update on the Proceeds of Crime Recovery and Management Act 2022 for you. In line with the new law, all relevant agencies of government have now opened a confiscated and for future properties account with the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. I can confirm that so far, the federal government has realized over 120 billion naira, among other currencies, from poker. That is the confiscated and for future property. Sorry, that is from the Proceeds of Crime and Recovery Management Act. The money is being used to fund the completion of ongoing critical infrastructure projects in the country, like the second Niger Bridge, as well as Lagos-Ibadan and Abuja-Kano expressways. We will continue to update you on this. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to invite the Honorable Minister of Environment to make his presentation. Honorable Minister, can please come and take the podium.
The Honorable Minister for Information, and indeed my elder brother, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Information and Culture, Mrs. Lydia Shehu Jafia, MNI, the SSA, to Mr. President on Environment and Climate Change, the Special Assistant to the President of Media, my apologies, the Overseeing Permanent Secretary, Minister of Environment, the Directors General and Chief Executive Officers of agencies and directors for the two ministries, editors, bureau chiefs, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. First, I want to assure the Minister of Information that when you go to war, you go with your generals. That's exactly what I did. The professors here are my generals because I expect a lot of missiles from the journalists. So I need sufficient cover. Having said that, it's quite a pleasure to be here, to be able to present the scorecard of the PNB administration from the angle of what we've been doing in the Ministry of Environment. Can we have the slide? Who's working on it? Yes, okay. Now, I don't want to bore you with the background and vision and mission, etc., etc. So let's go to page. Let's go to page 7. In page 7, it speaks to the efforts of the ministry in terms of desertification, land degradation, and drought management. Now, the ministry has been able to draw what we call the National Action Plan, essentially to combat desertification and mitigate the effects of drought in the country. We reviewed it and then developed a very enhanced strategy in relation in liaison with the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. Again, we have what we call the LDN target, which is just about land degradation neutrality, to support government efforts in ensuring that our lands are not degraded, our land are left cultivatable and usable, so that we have an effective land use management strategy. Of course, the essence is to contribute to what we call the African 100 million hectares initiative. In other words, it's a combined effort of African countries to ensure that we recover about 100 million hectares of degraded land. So Nigeria signed off to the Afri 100 initiative. Next slide. Next slide too. I've spoken about the Afri initiative. Okay, part of what we do is to ensure in the process that we trained 12 officers of the ministry on the application of remote sensing and geographic information system. We've established about 12 hectares of woodlots in rural communities, 5 numbers, in desertification frontline states. There are states that we call frontline states that are severely affected by the effect of desertification. So what we do is to identify these states and a few communities to run pilot programs that support our initiative in terms of combating desertification. Now, we've also been able to establish about 4.8 hectares of orchards in 4 rural communities in Kebbi, Gombe, and Nasarawa states, and the FCT, essentially to improve, and support their livelihood and resilience. Now, again, under Forestry Department, we have developed over the last 4 or 5 years a national afforestation program, a sustainable development of Dimas Jatropha plantation in Yobe State. We have also established cottage aspiary for youth and empowerment. We have established medicinal plant herbarium through the Forest Research Institute of Nigeria, which of course the minister is intimidated by the appearance of the professor here, the DG of FRIN. We've also domesticated viable wildlife species of animals. You are quite aware that part of what we face in terms of our conservation challenges is that most of our plants and some animals are going extinct. So our effort is to ensure that we halt the slide towards extinction of our various species of both plants, fauna, and wildlife. So that is why we've also developed a strategy to combat trade and crime in wildlife and forest crime. We've also developed national timber legality standard. We are quite aware that part of what we face as a country is the activities of illegal loggers who are in some cases supported by state actors. I don't want to mention names. So our forests have been depleted by the activities of illegal loggers. So the national timber legality standard is meant to set the framework in which people can trade and where necessary export in timber trade. Of course, we made effort in combating illegal wildlife trade through a number of policies and interactions with both local and international agencies. You are quite aware that this government, under the Buhari administration, established what we call the National Forestry Trust Fund. It is meant to support the government initiative in terms of afforestation and fight deforestation, because we understand that the government alone cannot drive the process of afforestation. So it needed some independent funding that is independent of government that can support those efforts. This is running, it has been established, it's ongoing, and it's been very effective. Then we have the National Forest Investment Program, which has been developed under the auspices of the ECOWAS, to support, again, government initiative in terms of afforestation. So these are all part of what government has been able to do in the last 4 or 5 years to support activities to do with afforestation. Now we'll come to the elephant in the house, the climate change. Now, you are quite aware that globally we are faced with the effects, negatively of course, of climate change. Most of it as a result of the activities of industrialized countries. Now, because of the huge number of emissions they have over time in the process of their industrialization caused globally, it has become and is becoming a serious threat to our survival as humans first, and then for the survival of the universe itself, because of the impact of these emissions. So as a build-up towards our own mitigation activities and strategy, the president at Glasgow COP26 last year committed Nigeria to join the global fight against GHG emissions by committing to net zero by 2060. Now, committing to net zero by 2060 means that we are going to take a number of steps towards achieving those goals. One is to, transit towards renewables, which tends to de-emphasize our GHG emissions as a country. So, as a strategy towards that, we developed what we call the Energy Transition Plan in liaison with relevant ministries like the Ministry of Power, Ministry of Petroleum, the Office of the Vice President, and indeed relevant agencies of government to develop the Energy Transition Plan. The Energy Transition Plan is about one of the first in Africa. It is envisaged and planned to, one, ensure energy access by a majority of Nigerians, and also ensure that it reduces our GHG emissions It also ensures that we rolled out what we call the green energy, infrastructure to support our energy demands. And it also means that we committed to leapfrogging from gas in the next few years, to LPGs and more cleaner energy. And of course, as a build-up towards that, Mr. President signed the National Council on Climate Change Act, which paved the way for the establishment of a council that oversees our general strategy in terms of climate change initiatives. Now, the Climate Change Council is supposed to, to bring up what we call a 5-year National Climate Change Action Plan that will integrate all the various efforts being done by the Minister of Environment and Minister of Power and other agencies of government to consolidate all those efforts towards GHG emissions by net zero by 2060 into one solid, national action plan. We have done that. The President has inaugurated the council. There is a Director General appointed. They are working around the clock to develop the action plan and indeed set the tone for development of our climate change initiatives in the country. Now, like I said earlier, part of what we face as effect of the climate change is the challenge we have in Lake Chad, where there is a receding, water level in the Lake Chad. In other words, Lake Chad is drying up as quickly as possible, and as it dries up, it also dries up the livelihood of communities around the Lake Chad region. So it breeds a lot of issues: security, migration, conflict, etc., etc. So we are developing a strategy through the AgriStar program to see how we can use the Congo Basin Channel to see how we can indeed improve on the source of water through Lake Chad. So permit me to use the word, we are recharging Lake Chad. Apologies to people who said recharge is not the right word. We are making an effort to recharge the Lake Chad through a number of sources to support the efforts of government to rehabilitate the Lake Chad, ensure that fisheries activities continue, support livelihoods of people and communities within the Lake Chad region, and indeed support their resilience, to the effect of climate change. As part of what we do in the climate change initiative is to issue what we call the Nigeria Sovereign Green Bond, targeted only at projects that are green in nature. I've spoken already about the energy transition plan in brief, by reference earlier. But let me say that go to page 15. So let me say that part of what we want to do as our clean energy goals is essentially to focus on, one, in collaboration with the Ministry of Power and Ministry of Petroleum, to modernize the power sector with large-scale integration of renewables, enhance energy efficiency and conservation, target 250 gigawatts of installed capacity with over 90% made up of renewables, decarbonize across the energy sector through deployment of emerging technologies and alternative fuels, hydrogen, bioenergy, waste to energy, etc. So as part of what we do to ensure efficient implementation of the energy transition plan is that I hosted the United States Special Presidential Envoy on Climate Change, John Kerry, to discuss our participation at the Net Zero World Committee of Nations, and then also re-emphasize our assent to what we call the Global Methane Pledge, which Nigeria signed up to. The Global Methane Pledge is essentially a group of countries that have signed off major economies of the world, close to about, I think, close to about 80 countries or so, led by the United States of America, that signed off to Global Methane Pledge to ensure that we did as much as we can to regulate methane emissions in the country. The NNPC, through the Ministry of Petroleum, has developed those regulations in line with our pledge. And recently in COP27, when we had the Net Zero World Nations meeting, we also emphasized on all the efforts we are making towards our net zero by 2060. So we are on course, we are focused on that, and we are ramping up all the efforts from various agencies of government and the private sector to ensure that we deliver on our commitment. Now, go to page 20, flood control. Of course, we are quite aware of the recent devastation in the country caused by floods across close to about 13 or 17 states in Nigeria. Now, as a country, while we do not intend to preempt the efforts of the Special Presidential Committee that was set up by Mr. President last month to develop a strategy, a steering committee to develop a strategy for prevention and mitigation of impact of floods in the country. But I would say that we are part of that committee and we're making an effort to support the efforts of that special committee. But however, we have been able to, prepare a national policy on erosion and flow control. We've established a web-based flood early warning systems, which regrettably were ignored by some states. We've also developed safeguards to operationalize action on areas that require movement or evacuation in terms of emergency. We have synergized with the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs in that regard. We've also established community-based waste management recycling facilities in flood-prone areas across the country. We've also tried to strengthen climate change adaptation and resilience in flood-prone areas. We have also advised state governments, particularly those that have streams and rivers alongside their municipalities, to adhere strictly to rules, to adhere strictly to rules that tends to protect, one, the banks of the river from human encroachment, and then two, also protect human activity, from flood activities. So the challenge we have is that state governments, in their drive for revenue, authorizes building plans along the river banks or in lowlands that are clearly endemic or are prone to flood. We've advised state governments, yes, there's the need to balance the need for ramping up revenue and the need, to as well ensure that communities are protected. Unfortunately, you could see the effects of those lands that have been approved by state governments. They've all been washed away by floods in spite of our earlier warning systems. Now go to page 22, where part of our mandate is to ensure the implementation of the Ogoni cleanup. Now, of course, you are quite aware of the challenges that brought about the creation of what we call the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, HYPREP, in Ogoni land. It is because of the devastation of their ecosystems and their land by the activities of oil companies, particularly Shell, that led to so much agitations. And then subsequently there was an agreement between the Nigerian government, the Ogoni people, and the UN to establish what we call HYPREP. Now, their clear mandate is to ensure that they restore as much as possible using science and technology and environmental best practices to ensure that those lands that have been badly affected by such pollution activities are remediated as quickly as possible. So far, Mr. President has endorsed the UNEP report on the Ogoni and has established a governance structure, established the governing council, the board of trustees, the HAPRO project office itself, and indeed the Community Relations Association. So all these governance structures are in place and they are working perfectly. So far, HYPREV has been able to deliver on 21 sites of remediation, covering about 230 hectares out of the 65 sites reported in the UNEP report. They have remediated 21 sites. Then they have also assessed additional 213 grids, consisting of 200 by 200 square meters per grid of shorelines, which will pave way for the actual cleanup and remediation of 635 hectares of contaminated shorelines and planting of mangrove seedlings, propagules of cleaned up shorelines area. Luckily, the project coordinator is here in case you need more information. We have also constructed 6 water supply schemes with a capacity of supplying 2,400 meter, what do you call that, M3, of potable water per day to communities across the 4 LGS of Ogoni land as follows. LMA, awarded a total sum of 802 million. Then LMA Ejama, awarded for a total sum of 1 billion. Gokana, a total of 1 billion. Gokana 2, a total of 906 million. Tai, a total of about 884 million. Kana, a total sum of 1.2 billion. At phase 1 of the scheme, which is the ones I mentioned earlier, are at about 85% completion. And phase 2, as we speak, is undergoing procurement process. They've been able to train about 400 Ogoni women in agribusiness and entrepreneurial skills, with 20 cooperatives already set. They've distributed a number of agricultural support items such as fingerlings, okra, cucumber, sweet corn, etc., etc. And the ministry has identified 5,000 Ogoni youths to be trained in various skills acquisition and to promote alternative livelihood and economic empowerment. Just last week, the ministry obtained approval of the Federal Executive Council of 491 million for the engagement of 500 Ogoni youth as local security to man various HYPREV sites. They have been able to do a lot of outreaches on health and surveys, etc., etc. Now, if you permit me, I'll go to the Great Green Wall program. The background is that there are frontline states that are in dire stress by virtue of the fast encroaching desert, and there's a need for us to create a buffer, to stop the advance of the desert towards these areas. So Nigeria signed off on what we call the Pan-African Great Green Wall Initiative, and as we speak now, the president is currently the president Conference of Head of State and Government of the Pan-African Great Green Wall. And I, as his junior alter ego, I chair the Council of Ministers of the Pan-African Great Green Wall Initiative. And the focus is to ensure that we develop a belt of green projects that support the Sahel regions and stop the advance of the desert. So each country is supposed to have its own national Great Green Wall agency, which we do here in Nigeria. And so far, we've been able to recover arable land in the northern part of the country from a baseline of 90 hectares in 2019 to 6,000 hectares as the second quarter of this year. We've increased the number of trees, orchards, planted from 1,080,000 to about 9,048,000 this year. We have constructed 21 motorized boreholes around Zamfara, Sokoto, Kyobe, and Borno states to provide water for irrigation and other agricultural activities. We've trained and equipped about 2,136 Nigerians with vocational skills in the alternative livelihood scheme between the periods under review. A total number of 304 solar-powered boreholes, each with a steel overhead tank, gate house, animal drinking trough, 2 number standalone solar street light systems have been constructed. Similarly, 8,705 solar home lighting scheme systems have been distributed to households in the 11 frontline states. We've established 252 hectares of low-pressure drip irrigation marketable gardens for rural women across the 11 frontline states and conducted 165 school outreach programs across 11 frontline states. Now, you recall that, Mr. President, last 2 years, on the sidelines of hunger, did indeed make commitments that we're going to plant about 25 million trees over a period of 3-4 years. Now, from the angle of the National Agency for GW alone, they've been able to plant about 945,240 trees. It's an aggregation of so many efforts by various MDAs of government, not only the Ministry of Environment. There are a number of agencies in the Ministry of Agriculture and Water Resources that are also planting trees. So this aggregation of the various efforts, when you harmonize them, we're inching towards the 25 million trees target. So we've also been able to recover and restore about 128.5 hectares of land with over 421,922 tree seedlings planted. And we've also developed a draft policy framework for the implementation of national land degradation neutrality in Nigeria. I've spoke about it earlier on, and our initiative to plant the 25 million trees. I'll go to page, I'm trying to summarize as much as I can. Go to page 35. Waste, pollution control, environmental health and sanitation. Now, as recently as last 3 months, the United Nations made a declaration which is very fundamental to the development of our environmental ecosystem, that a healthy environment is a fundamental right of citizens. It's no longer a luxury. It's no longer a privilege. So before the UN could make that commitment, we've made tremendous inroads in terms of our efforts to protect our environment. So we've developed 3 key policies between 2020 and 2022. One is a national policy on solid waste management. The other one is national policy on plastic waste management. And the third one is national policy on battery waste management. All these encapsulate into a strategy, to ensure that our environment remains clean and healthy for human habitation. As part of it, constructed public toilets around the country, made additional waste cycling facilities around the country, empowered and trained over 200 youths, and then provided facilities at various stages of completion in some local governments across the country, and does a lot of training and more training for our youths across the country. We also facilitated the conversion of over 50 SMEs from ozone depleting to non-ozone depleting production process. We've trained over 90 trainers and technicians on improving energy efficiency in the refrigeration and AC sector. So, can we finally go to the concluding part? In revenue generation, the ministry during the period under review firmed up its internally generated revenue strategy and has significantly boosted the TSA to the tune of 8,690,529,014 kobo. But before I round up, let me just speak on two issues that probably may not be here. Part of it is the outcome of what we were able to achieve at COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh. You recall that the Ministry of Environment led the Nigerian delegation to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in Sharm el-Sheikh. Part of the takeaways from Sharm el-Sheikh engagement is that with other countries, and particularly the African group of negotiators, we've been able to come home with some very firm commitment from developed countries to support loss and damage funding. And then we've also been able to get $25 billion commitment to support national adaptation plans of African countries. And then we've also been able to get small commitments of fundings from some donor agencies that intend to support particular federal government initiatives as we move towards a net zero target of 2060. And then finally, you are quite aware that the Ministry of Environment has banned the exportation of some specific woods out of the country because of the activities of loggers and the effect it's having on our afforestation ecosystem. Now, government is reviewing it with a view to putting in place a very strong check that ensures that even if you are going to export, it must be done in a cleaner atmosphere without necessarily depleting our forest resources. We are reviewing that in view of the outcry it has created, around the country. I thank you very much for listening, and so I hope we can take your questions. If I don't take them, my generals will answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Let's give the Honorable Minister a round of applause. I am not surprised with the quality of the presentation of the Honorable Minister. First, he's a lawyer, and secondly, he's a tested hand. And to me, when he said he came with his generals, I quickly perused the list of the heads of agencies for Federal Ministry of Environment, professors, doctors, but I became jealous. But at a point, I now tried to peruse from my ministry. I discovered that we have professors too from our ministry, and Dr. Mansour Liban is a doctor. That's the DGF house here. Thank you so much. Honorable Minister, if you have been able to read a book written by Peter Berger, he titled it Pyramid of Sacrifice. It's a very simple thing. He said, when you are given bread, endeavor to open it up to be sure it was actually bread and not stone. Today, the gentlemen of the media will help us to check this presentation to be sure it was actually bread. But to me, I am convinced it is bread I saw. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are going into the question and answer segment. Please, like I said earlier, because I discovered that some gentlemen of the media came later, when you're recognized to speak, you tell us your name, the media organization you are representing. Please restrict your questions to the issues addressed by the Honorable Minister of Environment in his presentation. Please let us be decent enough in the use of language. Please, I want to declare the floor opened for your questions. 1. Okay, we start from the front. 1, 2, 3, 4. Please, if you're a journalist, you're expected to sit at this right-hand side. I will not recognize you until you go to that side, please. Thank you very much. We'll take the first set of questions, please.
Good morning, Honorable Minister and other top government officials here present. My name is Sonny Daniel. I work with Vanguard newspapers. This is a very solid presentation that gives hope that Nigeria is moving on the right side. But let me put one crucial question to you, sir. You just returned from COP27, where climate change issues were discussed. I just want you to brief us. What measures are being put in place to ensure that Nigeria will not be left behind when other nations of the world reap the benefits of climate change, that this country will not be affected badly in the sense that we depend more on carbon energy than green energy sources. We just want to know what is being done. And the last question, sir. The people of Ogoni are not too happy with the way and manner the cleanup is progressing. They feel that the project is unduly delayed. What is really the problem that is holding up the completion of the cleanup of that place? A project that the UN and the federal government of Nigeria are fully supporting. Thank you very much, sir.
The second question, please.
Thank you. Morning, sirs. My name is Dr. Leon Usigbe of the Nigerian Tribune. The Honorable Ministers, I have spoken on the effort to revive Lake Chad. And I'm aware that the LCBC had toyed with the idea of channeling water from Ubangi River in Central Africa, I believe. Now you have mentioned a different initiative. So what is the fate of that initial plan to channel water from Ubangi River? And how soon do you think your effort to revive Lake Chad will be realized? Thank you.
The third one, yes.
Honorable Ministers, Honorable Minister of Environment, nice seeing you again now since your days at the Science and Tech. My name is Abdurrahman Abdurrao, Blueprint Newspapers. Quite an interesting one that we had this kind of a presentation. Just a day or 2 days ago, your colleague from the Water Resources Ministry spoke about the construction of toilets and this open defecation of a thing. Again, this appears to be repeated in Federal Ministry of Environment. Is there a collaboration? Is there a kind of duplication of responsibilities? The first leg of the question. The second leg, between 3 years, 2020 to 2022, 3 policies on waste management, solid waste management, battery management, and I think the third one is 3 policies were approved. Significantly, how would you say this has solidly impacted on the Nigerian youth? Because when you see these guys moving around picking garbage here and there, how have you been able to manage that, and how has it positively impacted on Nigeria's job creation? Thank you.
The man beside, yes, just keep to him. We will come to you, don't worry.
Okay, my name is Adelani Adepegba. I write for The Punch. In your presentation, sir, you talked about flood control. And this year, we know that over 600 Nigerians have died in flooding. And some states have also accused the federal government of not doing enough to combat flooding in Nigeria. I'd like to know how much the federal government has given to states this year. Secondly, across the country, we have cases of illegal mining everywhere. It seems that is the rage now in illegal mining across the country, and particularly in Osun State. There are reports that some illegal miners are despoiling the Osun River. They've also even also destroyed the area around the Osun Grove. We'd like to know what you are doing to address this challenge. Thank you.
Okay, my friend at the back, yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Onengiye Fineface with the Nigerian Television Authority. 3 quick ones, sir. How do you intend to tackle the issue of repollution from artisanal refining, what is popularly known as fire in Ogoni land, so that what you are doing, the cleanup exercise you're doing, will not be sabotaged by the repollution? And 2, what is the status of the Center of Excellence for Environmental Remediation, also in Ogoni land? Finally, sir, what plans do you have to develop bankable projects to access available international funds, like that of the $14 billion available for the Great Green Wall Project, to support the climate action plans for Nigeria? Thank you.
I think we should allow the Honorable Minister to provide answers so that we will not lose focus. If time permits, we will still come back to you. Honorable Minister, sir.
Thank you. Now, the first question, if I get it rightly, is from Vanguard. About measures Nigeria is taking to benefit from, the outcomes of COP27, probably to do with the climate finance issues. Well, first and foremost, that is why we develop what we call the Energy Transition Plan. It is homegrown. It identifies, a pipeline of projects that support the structure for our energy transition plan as we transit towards renewables. It also identified, the deployment of solar mini grids, to rural communities. It also identifies the possibility of integrating wind energy, to complement hydro, etc., etc. So the first thing that funding partners look for are, a pipe bankable, which we've already developed. That is one. 2, in most statements at COP27 by world leaders, from the address by President Joe Biden when he addressed us at one of the sessions in Sharm el-Sheikh, to the agenda setting by the COP president himself, it was very clear that the issue of flooding in Nigeria, with its devastating effects, has gained some traction and sympathy of most developed countries to support Nigeria's quest to access funding. And that is why we're in the forefront of list of
countries that would likely benefit from the fund for loss and damage. What is pending is actually the mechanism, for setting up of the fund, and then the conditions within which a country can access those funds. So we are waiting for the mechanism to be set up, but while that is being done, we have already set out an action plan. It will be supported by the National Climate Change Council when it finally develops its own national 5-year action plan. So we are doing all the best we can to ensure that Nigeria benefits from the outcomes of the Sharm el-Sheikh in terms of climate finance. You said the Ogoni people are not happy on the cleanup. I want to find out what are the problems holding out the project. Well, I think that the federal government, as far as we are concerned, we are focused on delivering on the objectives of the Ogoni cleanup. We have a roadmap, as outlined by United Nations Environmental Program, and then which has also been, supported by the federal government in terms of its general policy about pollution mitigation. So part of what we're doing at the moment is that the Hyper Project Office, they're here. They're doing what we call scoping of sites that require immediate attention. And like I spoke earlier, we have done some site remediation, and at the moment where we are now, we're doing some procurement on remediation as well of both shorelines and what we call simple impacted site. So we are on course. Yes, it's very normal for a group to be unhappy while other groups are happy. So my take is that some of the challenges we are facing, actually, they are from there. People go to court, to obtain orders, either expertise or interlocutory orders, to restrain Hyper Project Office from proceeding on some matters. So sometimes it's not really the making of government. It is the people themselves in one group or the other doing advocacy that tends to slow down the process of Hyper. But we're doing the best we can to attend to all challenges and all concerns that have been raised by stakeholders. Tribune spoke about maybe discordant tunes in terms of approach to recharging of Lake Chad. Well, the Lake Chad has so many sources that requires to support, the reactivation of the lake. So, if, for instance, the Ministry for Water Resources are working towards channeling water from the Congo Basin, it all adds up to federal government efforts towards adding more inflow of water to Lake Chad to ensure that it is revived. Not only that, we're also looking at the wetlands recovery. We're trying to recover the Nguru wetlands because of the break, in terms of weeds and silts. So we're trying to do a cleanup to ensure that water from the Nguru wetlands, flows in freely into Lake Chad. So there are a number of sources from Hadejia River, from everywhere, that has been, pumped up to ensure that water, supply leads and goes into Lake Chad to ensure a heavy volume of water intake to support communities and activities of farmers there. Now, Blueprint spoke about probably some conflict in terms of open defecation program. No, there's no conflict. In fact, we are part of the program. We recently launched jointly with the Ministry of Water Resources the World Toilet Day, just to support, a cleaner environment. The challenge is that most countries in Africa have this challenge, but it's more endemic in Nigeria, where we are prone to defecate so openly. So it's an ongoing, campaign by both Ministry of Water Resources, the Ministry of Environment, and indeed Ministry of Information as well, to educate people on the need, to avoid open defecation and to use toilets. So there is no any contradiction. We are working together with them. flood control, how much has... Okay, federal government is accused by the states. It's normal. It's the nature of the kind of constitutional arrangement we have, where we have sub-nationals shying away from blames. You and me know that each state, when the state argued, initially the federal government handles ecological funds, but the states argued that they must be given their own share of ecological funds. The federal government accepted, and at every FAC allocation, they give their own share of allocation to states. So to come out and accuse the federal government of inaction is very unfair. Haven't gotten your fair share of your ecological funds over the years. So I find that very, very amusing, because each state is paid its share of ecological fund. But in spite of that, on the share of the federal government allocation of an ecological fund, federal government still intervenes in states. So I think the question should be more to state, what are you doing with your share of ecological funds? Not the federal government. Federal government has been overstretched by the states, and they've done their best to support the state. Two, because the flood is a national emergency, I'm aware that the federal government has directed the Ministry for Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management to intervene. And they're doing so with a lot of support, which is quite outside my remit as the Minister for Environment. But I know that the federal government is giving so much support to states. You know, sometimes we like to thank governors like Wike, who comes out to say, look, we'll be given this amount of money, you know, while other states just keep quiet. So the inquiry should go to the states. Thank you very much, sir. And then you spoke about, I hope I got it right, NTA, pollution by artisanal farmers, miners, right? In remediated sites in the Ogoni land. And what is status of Center of Excellence in Ogoni land? Please permit me to allow the project coordinator, who is also an associate professor, as to give me that cover.
Thank you, the Honorable Minister and Permanent Secretaries of the both ministries. Very distinguished heads of agencies and members of the press. Talking about artisanal refineries and repollution issues is not only restricted to Ogoni land, where the federal government is channeling great efforts at restoring and remediating impacted lands. It is a problem that cuts across the entire Niger Delta. As at the moment, we have presence in the areas that have been contaminated by oil spills. In our work areas in Ogoni land, as at the moment, there is no artisanal refinery going on. But I want to state that Ogoni land is situated in the Niger Delta wetland that has so many rivers and creeks that carry pollution from areas that are outside the project boundaries, where oil theft and oil refineries are actively ongoing. And therefore, the solution to this problem should be a regional attempt at stopping oil theft. It is all known by all Nigerians as at the number of illegal taps that are on our oil pipelines all across the Delta. And it is from these illegal operations that repollution emanates, and they are being carried by the creeks down to our project areas. We are making efforts. Just 2 nights ago, I had a meeting with some Ogoni youths who were former artisanal refiners. And their simple desire was the efforts that we are putting in to ensure that they have alternative livelihoods. On August 5th, the Honorable Minister graciously approved that an additional 5,000 Ogoni youths be incorporated
into our livelihood schemes. And we have since then floated several alternative livelihoods that we attend to these problems. For instance, as I speak, we have programs geared towards training Ogoni youths in the aviation industry. Selections have been taking place, and an institute that we train these youths as cabin crew members and as air traffic controllers and all that is currently ongoing. We also have a program to take care of youths for seafaring. We have programs for mechatronics and the creative art industry. As I speak with you, Ogoni youths are actively being encouraged and supported by HyPrep. They are on sites shooting movies with Ogoni themes as the theme of the movies. So we have a lot of activities geared towards addressing these key issues. On the Center of Excellence, I am an academic by training, and that is an issue that is very dear to my heart. Yes, we have also succeeded in carrying out a robust design for building of the Center of Excellence. As at today, the bid for the actual building of that Center of Excellence was opened on Monday with observers all over there. So, yes, it has taken a while, but I want to also state here that the present administration is inheriting the inactivities of the past. The report was released in 2011. This is 2022. But it only took the present regime of President Muhammadu Buhari to set up structures that will actually implement that. In 2015, as soon as he came to office, we have the governance structures that has been set up, and then the project coordination office did not take off until about late 2017. And between then and now, a lot of achievement has been made by HyPrep. I dare say that the achievements of HyPrep have been grossly underreported. And in the coming weeks, we shall also, on our own, just following the footsteps of the Honorable Minister, tell the world about the modest achievements that we've made and the plans that we have in coming up, especially from this moment forward. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Then on the question of, I think by Punch again, the impact of policies on solid waste, plastic waste, and battery waste on youth. Let me allow the Permanent Secretary to talk about it for just a minute or so. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Your Excellency. I think what a policy does is to provide direction, in which the country moves. So for the three policies that we have developed, of course, they are intended to ensure that the waste in question are managed in an environmentally sound manner. That is one. The policies also provide responsibilities for the various stakeholders, including the private sector. The policies also intended to ensure that there is adequate private sector participation in waste management, including foreign direct investment. So the policies are being implemented both at the federal and the subnationals. We're also assisting the states to develop their own action plans and policies as well. Take, for instance, the issue of battery waste. What happens presently is that a lot of people, particularly in the informal sector, are involved in recycling of battery waste. However, as some of you are aware, Nigeria is a signatory and a party
to the Basel Convention on Transboundary Movement of Hazardous and Other Wastes. As a signatory and party to this convention, we monitor the movement of hazardous wastes. We try as much as possible to ensure that the youths who are mostly involved in picking these batteries, breaking them, and of course, selling the various parts, one, that their health is protected. Secondly, that they make as much money as possible from this waste. Now, under the policies too, we have a provision for empowerment of youth and women through environmental management. It's under our Waste to Weight initiative, where we train youth and women on how to do value addition to waste. We don't just stop at that. We also try to train them to establish micro, small, and medium scale waste-based enterprises. We also try to facilitate access to further support by way of grants, low or non-interest loans, and even providing them with equipment. So far this year, we have been able, under our Waste to Weight initiative, we have been able to train more than 400 youth and women. And in some cases, we have even provided them with locally fabricated equipment. Just about 3 weeks ago, we trained some people in Kaduna and provided them with locally fabricated briquette making machines. And so these policies help us, one, to address our waste in an environmentally sound manner, also ensure that economic benefits, from the waste are maximized. And again, the policies also help us to meet our international obligations, because Nigeria is a signatory to several multilateral environmental agreements. And so the policies the policies have a positive impacts on the youth. And again, we have Nigeria has recently launched its circular economy program. By the word circular economy, what it tends to do is to ensure that the product remains in circulation for as much as possible. I mean, we are transiting from the linear model of doing things, that is, we produce, we use, and discard, to the circular model, which ensures that the waste products are recycled, we put them in circulation for as much as possible. So we are training youth, women, and other stakeholders across the country. We are partnering with several organizations, United Nations Environment Program. We're also training regulators, the private sector. And the essence is that it will help the country to address the issue of waste, of pollution, alleviate poverty, grow the economy, as well as diversify the economy while ensuring sustainable development. Thank you very much.
I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen of the media, this is the much we can take for today. We want to thank the Honorable Minister of Environment, the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, who is the coordinator of this event, the permanent secretaries, chief executives, and other very distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the media. We want to thank you for your time. Thank you, and God bless you. May we please rise as we take the national anthem, please. The national anthem. Maybe we should demonstrate our patriotism to our dear country, Nigeria, by singing. Oh. Thank you, and God bless you all. Thank you.